What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Big Thing. I'm Kristian Harloff. Thank you for everybody, by the way, who has subscribed to the new channel. We are very happy to have you. And what an episode we have today. Katee Sackhoff joins us, Bo Katan herself. We're so excited to have her. My daughter is very upset with me that she wasn't able to be here. But don't worry, we'll talk about a lot of stuff that my daughter will be excited about, you'll be excited about. We're very pumped to have Katee in studio once again. But before we get into it, also wanted to let you guys know, if you didn't know already, myself and Mark Ellis, we're going to be in New York Comedy Club, October 8th. Make sure, it's my first time doing a 20-minute set in like 13 years, so please go and check it out. Please, please, please buy those tickets at markellis.live, and then we're going to be in New York and Brooklyn the following day for the Schmodown at the Roulette Theater. So make sure you check that out. We are excited to start the big thing. It's coming. It's Katee Sackhoff. All right, you humps. Let's do this. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to The Big Thing. I'm Kristian Harloff. This is the show. Man, this has been a fun show. I know a lot of people have been complimenting the show and saying it's got that old school feel to it. You want to go old school? Oh, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Katee Sackhoff is back.
I think you just called me old.
No, I didn't call you old. Old school. We're talking old school schmoes. Co-host.
Your school is old.
Yeah, that's right. and
I was gonna say that last time you did stand up, it was your set about your mitts.
My mitts at the Improv.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that set.
It was. Do you know? If you want to feel old, I was thinking about this today. You and I know you 16 years.
Yeah.
16 years.
Do you want me to make you feel real old?
Yes, please.
It's been 20 years since I booked the role of Starbuck.
That is pretty nuts.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, but isn't it crazy how it all turns around? Oh yeah, and ladies and gentlemen,
I'm also here, but it's cool.
Steph's here. Steph's
hey guys,
here.
it's me. But don't worry about it. Like, actually, honestly, I'm just like having fun, like being like the tennis judge. The sideline. I'm just like,
You should.
Well,
I'll do
the
this.
ball's over here.
I'll put all three of us here. But 20 years, and I remember it's been such a roller coaster for you in general, right? Because I can remember being on the phone with you 4 or 5 years ago when it was the Tarantino thing.
God, that wasn't. When was that? When did Hateful Eight come out?
I mean, 2015, 2016,
Probably.
something along those lines.
you know
correct
what?
him in the chat.
Oh, I can tell you when it was because it's the same day that Meatball died.
Oh shit!
That's right. It was August 27th, 2014. It was that day. Yeah,
You
it was
a real shitty day.
It was I found out Longmire got canceled by A&E. My dog died, and I didn't get the Tarantino movie all in one day. And I was like, I'm gonna need some cigarettes.
Yeah.
Give me some cigarettes, some Pedialyte, and a bottle of wine, and I'll see you guys in a week.
Yeah, but also, don't you wish you could go back and tell yourself now it's gonna be okay?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it doesn't help that she got nominated for an Oscar, right? You're like, all right. I mean, I guess they picked the right person.
Yeah, well, I think, but it does help, and I think Kate's 100% right though. Is that when you can never judge the past if you can't see what's ahead of you in the future, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, look at what has happened.
Right.
I just showed Katee a video of my almost 10-year-old who loves Bo Katan. She's an absolute. She was going to dress as Bo Katan for Halloween, and she was over the moon. And I was saying to Katee, that character has really, really resonated.
What did I
with
lose
people.
out to?
So she does. She
I mean, let's be honest.
up until last week.
Jennifer
it was,
Jason Lee. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't want to tell you.
I
didn't want to tell you, but she did. She said to me that she did win the Oscar. So I'm gonna.
Did she win the Oscar?
No,
God, I'm
no.
sorry. I was like, I literally holding an Oscar, just Jennifer Jason Lee.
No.
But like single white female.
No.
Jennifer.
No. She loved her in The Affair. No, she didn't. But no. She's a avid reader. She reads crazy, and there's this book like Keeper of the Lost Cities or some shit, right?
Yeah.
And so she wants to. Tomorrow she'll go back to Bo Katan. It's between the two. It's between the two of those. She's a super fantasy girl, but she said the same thing. I think a lot of girls have been saying, and it's that it's a strong female character that just kicks ass, and she felt represented in the show. So
I love that.
Are you getting that like everywhere now?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that the thing that Bo Katan has in common with the other characters that I played is that I love to play complicated women. I love to play women that are not just one-dimensional, that they're not just good and they're not just bad.
Yeah.
They're a little bit of both, because that's reality. And so I think that little girls and people identify with those characters because they have that nice, middle ground nuance thing of that we all do.
Yeah. Do you go back though when it comes to, because you're 100% right. She has there's so much to her, and all the history that she's had in the Clone Wars and the stuff with her sister, and she's played on that side of like maybe not a good guy, right? You did a rewatch of the entire series, didn't you?
I did.
And so do you take that stuff with you inside of the performance now when you're?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I send Dave Filoni questions constantly, and questions that have nothing to do with Mandalorian.
What's your favorite ice cream?
Yeah, just things like that. Right. Or like, what's Bo Katan's favorite ice? That would be a question I would probably ask.
Right.
Like, because I want to know everything about her. I want to know why she did the things that she did. I want to know. It's very gray. We want life to be black and white, and it's not. She made a lot of mistakes when she was younger. And I think that, if we hold people to the mistakes that they make when they're younger and we don't provide them, the ability to have growth and change, that says more about us than it does about them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think that for Bo, when we meet her, she is not a great person, but we have to take into account her parents have died. She's being raised by, an uncle who is very, he's, morally not the best guy. And she looks up to him. That's who she looks up to. Of course she would be manipulated and swayed to potentially follow that,
of course,
that road.
And the thing is, what is Star Wars is the battle between the dark and the light all the time. And it's not
Always.
just about Jedi and Sith that are dealing with the dark and the light. And so the question is, us as human beings, how do we deal with the dark or the light? And what normally takes us to the dark side? Pain.
Right.
And how much pain Bo Katan has had. Are you kidding me? Like with her sister and it's everything in general. She's constantly fighting for her throne,
Right. Well, here's the thing, right? We know that she as a human being has had growth and change, because with the death of Satine, to see the fact that she didn't go back to that dark place tells us immediately that she's had growth as a human being. She's channeling that loss and that anger in a very different way than she was when we were first meeting her. Yeah. That doesn't necessarily tell us that, Mandalorians are complicated, and there's a very, they're very divided. They think that, one side is within themselves, they're pacifists, but they're also warriors. So, the idea was to be pacifists under Satine, right? But so they're torn, and that is that dark and light that you talk about. That is that thing, that inner struggle that we all have,
I love how much you know about the lore now and everything too, and how I
know. I was going to ask, do you know like what's canon? Are you into like the novel? Like, where were you prior to Clone Wars?
Prior to Clone Wars,
you're like, I knew Kristian Harloff.
That's it.
I knew a guy who liked Star Wars.
I knew a guy who told me all about it. He told me what order to watch the movies in. No, I was raised on my dad showed 4, 5, 6 to me when I was a kid, obviously. Yes. And then I'd seen, 1, 2, 3, obviously, like everyone else. And then some Clone Wars stuff. So I knew of some of the stuff, but I didn't dive deep.
Right.
I haven't seen, Return of the Jedi 25 million times. Right. I've seen it 15, maybe, 10
that's
times.
That's still a lot, yeah.
Probably. She hasn't seen The Matrix once, so it's fine.
I haven't seen The Matrix once.
Really?
I'm a real ass.
So when I say, do you want the blue pill or red pill? You're like, I don't know.
I'm like, whichever one Neo said he wanted.
You're like, why are we talking about politics?
That's right.
God, I think I'll take the Democrat pill. Is that what you're asking?
You're like, is that what you're asking me?
Did we just get flagged because I said
Did
Democrat?
we did.
We're shut off.
God.
We're pre-taped and they shut us down.
No, but when the whole Mandalorian thing came up, one of the first calls I made was, well, not first calls, but when we were together at Halloween Horror, I was like, I need your help.
Yes.
I need you to talk to me about this stuff, because my biggest fear is that I'm going to say something that is not right, that the fans will go, oh, she's not a real fan.
Yes.
They'll
tell
they will. They
sure will.
And I don't want to let them down. I want to make sure that I represent Bo Katan, but also them in this,
Yeah.
Can I say though, like somebody, I'm very new to it all myself, but my son who's 6 years old, big big Clone Wars fan.
Yeah.
And I love everything that takes place on Mandalore. I just feel like those are some of the most compelling stories in Clone Wars. I'm just like, oh, and I think it's in part because I'd been watching Clone Wars, then watched Mandalorian. I mean, so it was like, oh my God, it all fits together.
Yeah.
But there is so if you remember in Back to the Future, there's a moment where like at the very beginning, Michael J. Fox takes his sunglasses off and you're like, it's Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
That is the moment in Mandalorian when you take your helmet off. It's just like, like it is just so. I was just like, flipping shit, like it was just such a moment for anybody.
Yeah.
Like you could do no wrong. I mean, it's
They set it up.
Huge moment.
They set it up very well in the Clone Wars series that just had the last season.
The last season.
Oh yeah.
And then so when you showed up at the end there, you're like, oh, they're setting something up here.
Yeah.
They're setting it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that hair. Oh, that hair.
That hair. That hair.
So
yeah.
let's because now it's funny because we really there. I mean, you came on the show, we did some digital stuff, but it's not the same as being in the studio, and we haven't really talked in depth of the experience because now you can.
Yeah.
And we briefly talked about. I mean, the big episode obviously when Luke shows up and
Right.
he's there. You had told me on that interview we did that you thought it was Plo Koon forever, right? And I even said to you, even as a friend, I'm like, come on.
Like we were
get
the
out of here.
first, unbeknownst to me, sorry, Disney, I was the first person to say that publicly.
The Plo Koon
The
thing.
Plo Koon thing.
Yeah.
Not realizing that it was like a
Thing.
secret, like a
Did
thing.
you get in trouble for that?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. No. I mean, if it had been something, they definitely would have been like, hey.
But now that you've reminded them, you are in trouble now.
You're
Now that
in
you've
trouble now.
reminded
I
them.
am. I will.
Because remember that time?
Well, it
The
makes sense though because
helicopters
it's funny because that makes sense because when I saw it, they did the thing on Gallery where Filoni mentioned or they were mentioning that throughout it that everyone thought it was Plo Koon. I'm like, oh, I knew that already. I'm like, oh yeah, I knew that because we talked.
I feel
about
like
it.
they did that entire episode because I'd already told people, and so they were like, we're gonna need to do a behind the scenes here and save Katee here.
But it was really great that whole thing the way that it took place and so it makes a lot more sense now the way that they did it. It was so secret. So they were doing like these little secret sessions and you guys had no clue.
No idea.
It's awesome.
No idea. And here's the thing. And call me gullible, tell me I don't know anything about Star Wars. That's fine. But when Dave Filoni tells you something is going to happen, and yes, it's bringing a character back to life. And I've said this in a tweet. You're right, guys. That has never happened in Star Wars before. Right. I mean, it's never happened. We never see dead people. They never come back. And you believe it. You believe it because he is, he is the right hand.
Well, and Plo Koon he's said it many times that Plo Koon is his favorite Jedi.
Yes.
So that's why you're like, that makes sense.
That makes complete sense.
And
I love Plo Koon. I was really excited. I'm so let down now.
I'm
Just
not
kidding.
I love Plo Koon too, but I'm not going to, not meaning to be a know-it-all here, but I was convinced it was Luke.
I think a lot of people were.
Mike Kalinowski and I, who does the Sith Council show here on Fridays, we had this ongoing conversation where I just said, when you look at it overall, it just made sense for him to be there. Like, well, I went nuts when people would say, it makes the universe smaller if he's in it. I'm like, no, it makes the universe smaller if you just randomly put people, like, I think when you put Chewbacca in Revenge of the Sith, that makes it smaller. There's no reason to put Chewbacca in there. But Luke was the only Jedi really around at that point that was as powerful as he was, moving around. He was doing things. So where was he? If there's this little powerful force being, Yoda species out there, he would sense it.
Yeah.
And it made sense.
Yeah.
So,
it does make complete sense.
yeah, it does.
In hindsight.
Absolutely.
Also,
In
don't
hindsight.
you feel like
At the time, I was like, of course.
Right.
Don't you also feel like that if everybody's like, there's going to be a big reveal, and it's not Luke, that's kind of
But
a
they
bummer.
never said
too.
it was big. They never said it'd be a reveal. All you knew was it was a season finale and something was going to go down, and
But,
you just assumed
but you know, with the
it.
Ahsoka episode, that they're looking, that she's
That
like,
she was
I
like-
know
there
of
was some
another.
kind of Jedi that was going to show up.
So I'm just saying, don't you feel like if it's not Luke, then
But
you're
for
like,
people that watch Clone Wars and Rebels, I think that it was pretty obvious that Bo Katan knew where Ahsoka was.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, she knows where she is. We also know that something more is going on with that story, right?
Yeah.
That, like, they've had relations.
I mean, I think the best.
You're saying they were girlfriends. Yes.
Yes,
We
yes,
agree.
yes,
I
yes.
know.
We
I
agree.
say relations. I
We
realize
agree.
that's
No,
going to
we
be
agree.
completely interpreted
That's
in
the
whatever
headline.
way.
That's the headline now. But
All right, we got to write that out now. Katie just ruined it. I guess they're not girlfriends anymore.
But speaking of that, with Ahsoka at the end of that Clone Wars episode, there is, how the whole season finale, as she goes off to basically have this kind of Ahsoka that is this tragic moment that goes down. Bo Katan's like one of the last ones who says to her, they're on the same page, the two of them. And so that obviously is going to open up the question down the line, and I'm not going to ask you this question because there's no way you're going to tell us shit. But
It's true.
no, you were no, and I wouldn't let you. But as I do every time you're on the show, I'm going to make a prediction.
Okay.
And I think that there will be a scene between Bo Katan and Rosario Dawson. I take the actress and then I take the character.
Yeah.
I think there will be a scene between the two of you guys because of exactly what you just said as far as the relationship goes. What I will ask you is this. Did you know Rosario Dawson before any of this?
No.
Okay.
No, I've just known of Rosario for a long time.
Sure.
I watched her in Kids when I was
Oh
man,
my
that
God.
Right.
I'm still haunted by
Haunted.
that
Me
movie.
too.
Yeah.
Haunted.
Yeah.
haunted.
Yeah.
Haunted.
I have daughters.
Haunted.
I have daughters.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Fuck you guys.
Yeah, no, you know what's funny? That movie, I do a lot of work with AMFAR.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
and youth HIV and AIDS. That movie put me on this path.
Yeah, I believe
that
it.
movie has made me get tested so many times, even if unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Just constantly.
Yeah.
Because it was so it scarred me. It
Yeah,
made
of course.
me so aware that this could happen to anyone at any time.
Yep.
If you're sexually active.
Yes.
I just, oh my God, it destroyed me. But anyway, so
Yeah.
I've known of Rosario Dawson for a long time. Big fan. I'm yet to meet her.
Yeah, she's been around for a while. She can do comedy. She can do.
Yeah.
I know. I loved her in Top 5, the Chris Rock.
that movie is
Yeah.
underrated.
Very
it really
underrated.
is. I
Very
thought it was
funny movie. How
fantastic.
funny
Yeah.
is DMX in that movie? The
Oh
late
my God,
great
he
DMX.
steals. I mean, he
Steals
walks
it.
off with the movie.
So
May he
good
rest
when
in
he's-
peace.
Yes.
Yeah, I was
Oh my
gonna
God.
say.
But yeah. So the fact, and she was in Daredevil, and there are times, and look, I love Ashley, who did X-Team, who's done the voice of Ahsoka for a long time, and I would have loved to see if she could have done the role too. But sometimes, and I don't know if this is the case or not, I have no idea. Sometimes the voice actor can't fit the role of what they're
Right.
looking for. Maybe can't do certain things.
Right.
You, from your experience in a lot of the stuff that you've done, whether it is Riddick or Battlestar, or any of these things, we know that you can do action. We know these things.
Well, here's the thing. I have been playing these characters since the moment they sort of like shifted me from being the dumb blonde girl to being the girl that like punches people in the face.
Right.
It's what I do. That being said, I also wasn't the lead of Clone Wars. I was in 10 episodes over Clone Wars and Rebels, maybe something like that.
I'll check
So,
with my
thank
son.
you.
Don't
Yes.
worry.
So
Neil.
So it was. There are people that still know that I was not the voice of Bo Katan in Clone Wars. Ashley is synonymous with that, and I think that
Right.
sometimes you do need a separation.
Yeah.
When you go into live action, but that's so above my pay grade, right?
It's tricky because I've also said, like I said, I would have been all for to see if Ashley could have done it too. I think she's a phenomenal actress in general, but I also was not one of these people like, well, no, Rosario can't do it. Rosario was awesome and she can kick ass and she
Rosario
was
can read
Yeah.
the Bible
God,
and make me
she
go,
was
okay, I believe that.
phenomenal. But
That sounds plausible.
now the flip side of that is I think
Sorry,
Vanessa,
now that everyone's gonna hate me for
no, they won't. Vanessa Marshall.
I'm the one that really doubled down on
Yes.
it. Come for me. Come for me.
Vanessa Marshall, who voices Hera, I think she absolutely could pull off Hera if they do that. It's like I asked when Freddie Prinze Jr. when he was on Jedi Council about playing an older Kanan. Now it's from what happens in the series. He was like, I don't know if I'd want to do it. So it's a matter of that's kind of the next question. Okay, is when the Bo Katan kind of comes along. You had mentioned this before. You talked about it, but it was Favreau that had they call you and say they just wanted. You didn't have to audition, right?
No,
It was
no. I had seen Filoni at Celebration.
right in Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he was talking to Whitwer. I think he was talking to Whitwer.
Yeah.
Who I, know from Battlestar, obviously. So friends with both, walked up. And I had just really heard about Mandalorian. It hadn't come out yet. And at least I don't think it had come out yet. Maybe it had just about. I don't even remember. But I remember saying to him very jokingly, she's not dead. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Smart.
I mean, it is called The Mandalorian, right? She's Mandalorian. Yes. I don't want to show you all the dots that connect, but
But 1 + 1 is 2.
Exactly.
But dude, it's shit like that.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that put some.
I don't know.
movement.
According in his mind, it was already there. And he had said to me years before that if we ever go live action, because I was like, really, will this ever happen? And he was like, I hope so. I hope they give us that opportunity. I'd love to get a hold of it. And
I'm so glad he's doing directing stuff now and producing and they giving him a larger role as in the live stuff, because I remember back in the day, I told you that this guy needs to do. I wanted him back. This is before TV was even a thing for Star Wars. I was like, when they gonna let him do a movie? This is where he belongs, in television, live action, and doing this stuff, because whether he is helping out and talking about Obi-Wan or other spin-off things that are going to happen, I feel super confident having this guy doing what he's doing, because people just love the guy.
Well, I think that he's been given the approval by Lucas.
Yeah.
I think that and he's been around for so long, and he has such a care for it, and so does Jon Favreau.
Yeah, of course.
They both love this world, and they take it so seriously, and they have an emotional connection to it, and that's what it requires. You can't just, bring a director in who didn't watch it as a child and love it, and
or at least want to do the research on it.
Of course. And that's the thing, right? And those guys, and that's why I love talking to Dave, is that the research for me, for Bo Katan, is never ending, because it's all in his imagination.
Right.
Yeah.
He can talk to you about things that happened to her when she was 5.
Oh, I love that.
And so we just sit and talk about it, because it gives me such a better understanding of who this person is.
Yeah.
And so whether I don't know all of the folklore in Star Wars, which I don't.
But you know more about her than
I know more about her.
Yeah.
And Dave and Jon say that to me. You're the expert on Bo Katan now. You know more than anybody else knows.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's so refreshing, because there's a lot of times. I mean, even George Lucas was guilty of in the prequels. Like, it's just say lines and go for it. But when you're sitting there and developing those characters and giving someone like yourself that much, it brings it in. And so talk to me a little bit about the technology though that they're using, because that's the stuff.
Yeah.
Like, back with the prequels and with for an actor and actress working on green screen can be tough. This is not green screen. This is something very different. It is surreal, right?
For anyone who hasn't seen the behind the scenes making of The Mandalorian, you should absolutely do that. Whether you're a fan of Star Wars or not, and you just love film, this is something that you need to see happen. So the volume is basically a bunch of computer screens in a complete 360 circle that goes probably 20 feet high. And it's controlled by a gaggle of people, like controlling each computer screen when you walk in the door of the stage. And everything is done in previs. They have everything done by the time you're going to be there. Like the scene where we're standing on the Razor Crest.
Yes.
All of the things that you see happening in a distance, the birds flying by, the sunset, the waves, the everything, that was done in previs. So when we're standing on top of the Razor Crest, you feel like you're moving. Like, they had to clip us in to make sure we couldn't fall, because I was like, guys,
seasick.
I'm getting seasick.
Yes.
Like, because it's so realistic, and you feel like the Razor Crest is
very easy
bobbing.
to get the performance out of you too.
Very easy.
Yeah.
Very easy. It's not like working on green screen anymore. Granted, there is an element of imagination that I think if you're going to do sci-fi, and especially Star Wars, you have to be able to find that uninhibited, childlike imagination that you had as a kid, because you can't work with a tennis ball and not have imagination.
Right.
Yes.
You have to be able to do that. You can't just stand there and be an actor with lines. You have to see a tennis ball and have, in reality, it's whatever you're seeing.
This might not be the right
Yeah,
time to
no,
tell you
please.
this, but Vivi's actually going as a tennis ball.
Is she really?
Yeah,
for
that's
Halloween,
she
yeah.
decided she's going to be a tennis
It's my
ball.
She's like,
nemesis.
Bo Katan or a tennis ball.
Tennis ball.
That's
I'm
right.
gonna go. It's yeah.
That's it.
It's more
But,
nuanced.
Yeah. Did you have your first day working in the volume? Because were you a little hesitant, like not because green screen? Because actors get a little nervous with green screen because it's tough. But you didn't know enough about it. And
I had seen the volume
Okay.
on a day that Pedro and Timothy were working.
Okay.
And I remember
You just on set, just
I was
watching?
on set
Oh,
just
that's
watching.
cool.
I went in for my camera test to make sure that everything was working the way it was supposed to work, and I saw them work
That's awesome.
and saw the volume.
What
and
scene?
Was like,
Do you remember?
The scene where they're sitting at the campfire.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember thinking, oh my God, I had no idea
That's cool.
that this was how they did it. And it was so intimidating.
Yeah.
So intimidating. And I said this before, it's not, my career has had a very clear ladder to it.
Right.
I just keep climbing, keep plucking away. Like, as long as I can work for the rest of my life, if I want to, great. I'm just going to keep working.
Yeah.
I've never felt, there's been moments where I was like, oh, this is very clearly the next step on the ladder.
Yeah.
Awesome. You have
Yeah.
your own show now? Perfect. Things like that. But I've never stepped up and into something greater than the career I had accomplished on my own.
Right. Yeah.
Like where I felt so, I was a fan. It was
Yeah.
just in awe.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck do you do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well, you know what's about that? It's funny because it's what you had said earlier about how a lot of the directors that are working on this show were fans as kids, and
Yeah.
I'll tell you who impressed the shit out of me in the directing was Bryce Dallas
I was
Howard.
just gonna say, I know who you're gonna
my
say.
God, you know what? And because her first episode, I liked,
Yep.
and you can tell like she was just getting grounded in it. But then your episode comes out, and you're like, oh man, did she just go leaps and bounds? And then she's taking homages from some of her dad's movies and doing stuff. And I'm like, she gets it, man. And then listening to her talk about you and your character inside of that gallery series, like she gets it. Like, had you met her before? What was it like working with her? Because she seems fantastic.
You know what? I had met her before.
Okay.
And we were like, from my perspective, we were like kindred spirits. I
Yeah.
loved her so much. Every once in a while you meet someone and you're like, oh my God, I really want to be friends with this
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work out. Life takes over. We travel so much as actors. We're never in the same place. And
I mean, I'm not having that moment right now. Don't worry.
No?
I'm not having that moment right now.
I live down the street. So I had met her before. I met her on set of Pete's Dragon.
Right.
Yeah. And I just loved her. I thought that she was such an incredible person, and funny. And,
Yeah. It's good to go into that too, having that, like, knowing that you had met before. It's kind of a break the ice thing with your director. Yeah.
And she went to college and might have been roommates with one of my dear friends as well. So
Small
we're
world.
sort of
Yeah.
in this like world
Yeah.
where we've, so it gave us that we didn't have to be introduced. We
Right.
just immediately folded into, let's work together. Let's get this done. And thankfully we did, because she helped me find Bo Katan. I've said this many, many times. I showed up unprepared. I thought I was prepared. I had my wardrobe on. I knew everything about her.
Right.
I had played her for 10 years. I knew what she sounded like.
Right.
I didn't know how she moved. I didn't know
Right.
how she sat. I
Right.
didn't know how she walked. I didn't know what her face did. I knew nothing about this character in that sense. And I immediately was petrified.
Yeah.
And I went to Bryce and John, and I was like, you guys, I need help. Like, we were in the middle of shooting the scene and finding her. My first scene was the scene with Grogu, where we're sitting around the table and we go in, Mon Calamari's there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
That scene where Mercedes eats the thing. And we did that.
That's the first. Oh wait, no, that's after.
That's
you
after
first
we
did it.
intro,
Right,
yeah.
Right.
We did that scene, or my coverage on that, at least 15 different ways.
Okay.
Different ways. And, John and Bryce were both there, and and they kept throwing out, like, just screaming, now do it this way, now do it this way, now do it like your mob boss, now do it like your,
so they were trying to find something.
The mob boss's daughter. Now do it like you have a joke. Now do it like there's,
so fun.
Every single take, because we were all trying to find her.
Yeah.
Like, who is this woman? Because we knew that she was important to the audience. We knew that we had an episode to get it right, and you were either going to hold on to him or lose him.
Isn't that funny, though, too, because you mentioned this earlier, and, I mean, certainly even from talking about this stuff, you can see that the fans do take this very seriously, Star Wars in general. So there is, and you look, there is the very positive side of the fandom, which you are experiencing because you have become a very popular character. The people have thought that, A, you've brought exactly what they were expecting from the character, and it is reminiscent and true to what she was in the story. So, and a lot of Mandalorian characters, I think, have gotten that. Mandalorian in general. The new trilogy didn't. A lot of the actors didn't experience that, right? A lot of them experienced. I mean, there were absolutely a lot of fans and a lot of people who reach out and sort of love, but there was a lot of stuff. If I was an actor and had to deal with some of that shit, I'd be like, why would I want to get involved with Star Wars at all? Seeing the stuff that had happened to
Daisy?
Yeah, no.
Daisy. Kelly Marie?
Thank you. Kelly Marie Tran. And John Boyega, and seeing what they went through, does that make you a little hesitant going into Star Wars before you take the role?
No.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing. If seeing ugliness in the world intimidated you so much that you didn't step out your front door, none of us would ever leave.
Yeah.
The world is ugly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's beautiful. And we need people to continue to put themselves out there because that's how you change the world.
Yeah.
So we need brave people willing to continue to just live their lives.
She just fell in love with you even more so. Look at you. She just fell in love with you.
Could you say that again, but slower?
You're batting your eyes at Katie right now. Do you understand that? Look.
She had me at jawline. You know what I mean? I am curious to know how have you noticed that your fan base has changed? Or is it the same? Is it the Battlestar fans are still also the Star Wars fans? Or do you feel like it's
and Longmire
really,
and then you
and Longmire. I mean,
season 2 of
Another Life. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
It is very much changed. Very much changed. I think so much because a lot of people didn't realize that I was the voice of Bo Katan.
Yeah.
And I think when they figured that out, they went, okay.
It's cool.
When I was first at Celebration, I had so many fans come up to my table and be like, why are you here?
For real? They didn't realize that you were the voice of Bo Katan?
They had no idea.
Wow.
They had no
At
idea.
Celebration?
Yeah.
Wow, that's bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that is the thing. And that is the thing about fandoms, right?
Yeah.
You have fans that are incredibly passionate and it means so much to them. And then you have fans that just love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have fans that watched it and went, that was awesome. I like it. I don't know anything about it, but I like it. And there has to be room for all of that.
Yeah.
There has to be room for that. And I think that it's, it's a metaphor for the world.
I think that's something amazing that Mandalorian's done is that people who maybe saw 4, 5, and 6 never bothered with the prequels, never bothered with the I feel like this is like I have a friend in Wisconsin and like Slinger, Wisconsin, who's
Just kidding. I love
You know
Wisconsin.
what?
Are you
You're
kidding?
asking- yeah, you're
I
asking
went
the right
muskie
question.
fishing in Wisconsin. It's a very elusive fish. We only caught pike.
Well, there you go. Boy, I just keep falling harder.
That I know the difference between
she said
pike
muskie and pike.
muskie.
Oh, yeah, you missed the conversation we had last week with this one in Muskie, so go ahead.
Oh, my God. Oh, boy. You said my safe word. Muskie. But she was like, I love The Mandalorian. I mean, it's not Star Wars. I don't even know if she's seen 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
But Mandalorian has become accessible to everybody. And I remember saying, like, is there going to be a lot of inside baseball? Is there going to be a lot of stuff that I'm not going to understand? And I feel like that's
I got
sort
you
of
into that, yeah?
You did. You absolutely did. And I
Yeah.
feel like just coming into this, like, you're not in the Schmodown community or in the, without having an interest in Star Wars on some level. Like, but I really appreciate that about The Mandalorian is that it's very accessible to it.
Yes.
You don't have to know anybody to just be like, oh, I'm just observing great television, great storytelling.
Well, I mean, do you remember, and we all have to remember this as Star Wars fans. Do you remember that moment when you saw it for the first time, when you were a kid?
Yeah, sure.
And that feeling where you had no expectation.
Right.
You just were taken away.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
We have to give people the opportunity to have that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And not expect them to have any knowledge of anything else.
Yep.
And because that is empathetic to other people. like we want them to experience it the way we did. And that's what's so great about Mandalorian is that so many people that are not Star Wars fans love it. But at the same time, because of the love that John and Dave have for it and the crew that they've amassed that feel the same way, they are bringing together the fandoms in a way that the original movies did.
It did, and there is in every bit of Star Wars, whether it's the prequels, new trilogy, Clone Wars, Rebels, whatever it is, Mandalorian, you always have to understand that this is how people are going to find Star Wars. One of these new things. It could be one of the animated series. It could be one of the new TV series. People who I never watched Star Wars before. I'm going to try this Mandalorian thing that's going on. And then they check it out. And there's other things that bring in people. For example, Battlestar, right? If they go, oh, Katee Sackhoff is in Mandalorian now? I've never been a Star Wars fan, but I was a massive Battlestar fan. And they do things like that. And Game of Thrones, they're doing a lot of stuff with Game of Thrones and putting Pedro in there and putting other people in there, right? And having that, it's a good way, an entryway. And I said this many times over, and I think that people are starting to feel the same way. I think Star Wars is better fit for television, to be completely honest with you. I think because, for example, if Bo Katan shows up in a movie, one movie, it's a big role, it's a fun role. You don't get the kind of depth that you would get continuously out of TV, as you know, with your experience in Battlestar.
Of course. I mean, the slow burn of television lends itself to long storytelling. And it's easier, I think, for people to understand the world when they have more time to do it in, but I do love the fact that, even Longmire fans who had they haven't watched Star Wars since 78,
right.
And they're watching Mandalorian now and going like, oh, it feels like a Western. Yeah. So now we've got all these Longmire fans that love Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love, having, a 75-year-old, rancher from the middle of Wyoming going, Mandalorian's fantastic.
Well, you know what's so great about it too is Filoni. It was my favorite comment that I've ever heard anyone talking about Star Wars, and I honestly think that this is where some of the projects in Star Wars have been lost. Favreau said, "We're not trying to do an homage to Star Wars. We're doing an homage to the stuff that inspired Star Wars." The samurai films, the westerns, the spaghetti westerns, all this stuff. And I'm like, the philosophies that gave George the first place and to do this. And that's why. I mean, for me, my favorite Star Wars with television and film.
Last Jedi.
First one would be Empire Strikes.
I was
Empire Strikes
going to
Back.
say no.
Yeah.
Empire.
Empire Strikes Back, New Hope, Mandalorian Season 2, Mandalorian Season 1, Return of the Jedi.
Wow.
And then
love that list
because of the development behind it. I'm so invested in these characters and so much. And I love Return of the Jedi. I like more and more. And I'm doing a whole rewatch of the movies right now on Sith Council.
I love Return of the Jedi too, but it's not my favorite.
It's not my favorite. It's like, but it's in there. It's in there for me too. And I found a new appreciation for Rogue One that I like a lot. I put Rogue One up there higher than maybe all the prequels, maybe all the new trilogy.
Well, because see what happens is that, and I was explaining this to someone the other day, when you realize that they all fit in a timeline, you can watch them with all of the knowledge that you've sort of gotten from the other shows and the other movies now, and you can place them and go, oh, and you have an emotional connection, maybe not even to the movie, but the feeling of the movie in the timeline.
Absolutely. We just did this whole rewatch on Sith Council for we just did the prequels first. And after watching those movies, and I started to watch them, I never really loved the prequels when I saw them initially. But after watching all the Clone Wars, after watching all these things and doing exactly what you just said, relating them into the timeline, you watch these episodes, you're like, oh, it fits so much more. It fits so much more. Like watching the Bad Batch. And did you watch any of the Bad Batch?
I watched the whole thing.
Did you love it?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I love how like into it you are now. Like you were always a Star Wars fan, but like because you've been rewatching all that, I love it.
Robin's also like a really big Star Wars fan.
Great.
So there are moments like before I would go to work and I would be reading my dialogue and I would be like, what does this mean? And he'd be like, let me explain it. And then we'd get into like a 30-minute conversation about what, who these people are, what this is, what that is.
Everything else that's so good.
And it makes it so much easier to memorize the dialogue when you understand what you're saying.
Yes,
of course.
That's Shakespeare, right?
Oh my God, it's so hard. It is so hard to remember words like Gazanti Freighter.
Yeah.
Because it's not a word you would normally say.
Right.
No,
So
like muskie or pike is what I would normally say. But Xanti Freighter.
Yeah,
Please.
Gazanti Freighter.
I already said it wrong, didn't I?
Yeah, but now that you know it and now it's part of her vocabulary, it's easier to say. And
Yeah. But there are definitely words that trump you up, and you're like, oh, shit.
I love it. But look, there's so much more I want to talk to you about, obviously, besides just Mandalorian and stuff we just talked about. Another Life, got season 2. So much. And before we do that, ladies and gentlemen, I also wanted to remind you guys about DraftKings. You guys know about DraftKings. We've been talking about DraftKings, and it is good to see the teams back out on the gridiron. Lucky for us, that was just week 1. DraftKings is the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. It's putting you in the center of the action for week 2. New customers get a free shot at $1 million in total prizes with their first deposit by signing up. Use that code SENLIVE. Get in on the action now. It's simple. You just pick your lineup, you stay under the salary cap, and you see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at $1 million in total prizes. Download the DraftKings app now and use the code SENLIVE. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in top prizes, total prizes there. Enter that code SENLIVE to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That is code SENLIVE only at DraftKings. It's the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. It's a minimum of $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. And we are here with Katee Sackhoff. We're talking.
Sorry, we're talking about water over here. I don't know what you're making fun of
I thought you were making fun of my glasses.
No.
No.
We were talking about water. We're talking about
We're
hydration.
making fun of
It's very.
my big flex water bottle.
How
your
you
left arm is going to get just stronger.
She last time she brought that thing, she pissed in the yard for 30 minutes.
I got to
else.
tell you, it is definitely something I have to plan around.
Yeah,
if I'm gonna commit to this on the road.
If Brett,
Can we talk about the fact that,
yes, please.
that during the thing that's going on in the world right now that we cannot mention,
Yes.
we were driving cross country.
Yeah. Did you buy a car toilet like I did?
Yeah, I have a wee thing in my car now. I have a plastic jug for people that are laying in hospital beds so I can pee in the passenger seat. We take an off ramp.
Yeah.
I dump it out. Then we get back on the freeway.
Oh,
Yeah.
you want to talk about some stuff?
Because there's no bathrooms open.
Well,
There's no bathrooms open.
so-
Also, I'm not going into them. To
No.
be
Oh,
clear.
really?
Well, early on, like April 2020 till maybe November 2020.
Right.
I was like, well, I'm not going in a public
So I go on.
bathroom.
I go
Now
on.
I'm
behind
behind
it.
it.
I went on a
behind the car.
vacation with my family. We went to we spent some time in Solvang. We went to
I
Carmel.
love Solvang.
Solvang's great.
Solvang's great.
Went to Carmel, and then there's, I don't know, a bunch of bags, and I'm like listening to some music, and I'm listening to Run the Jewels, which is, you want to feel, oh man, I'm feeling it, I'm vibing it. Man, that vibe that I had in my head, it was not when someone's driving by. What they see is me listening to Run the Jewels like I'm a fucking gangster with a porta potty in my hand, with like a piss potty for like a little kid, a stroller, and I'm like, this is how you gangster it up, bitch.
But that is very gangster. There's nothing more gangster than a guy putting it down
But this is
taking
what,
care of.
This is what people say.
This
but
is as the older we get, right?
Yeah. I was like,
that's sexy. That's it
the
isn't.
sexiest thing in the world is watching a man do dishes.
Isn't it?
I mean, I'll just honestly.
Yeah.
What would
Every
you do?
woman in the world should
What
just
I
get destroyed by one man,
Just-
and it will make you marry a good man.
Yeah.
That's it. It happened to me. You get destroyed. And then
Yeah.
you wake up and you
What's
go,
up, Garrett Rogers?
I'm marrying a Canadian.
I'm marrying a Canadian.
So you,
That's it. And that's what happens. And you go,
Smart.
this is happening.
He is a very nice person, by the way.
Honestly, I don't know what I did to deserve.
You're a very
I'll-
nice
I'll-
person.
Let's be honest.
tell you
I live
this.
in a gray world.
I've met some of the people you've dated.
Okay.
This is a nice.
Have you?
This is a nice person.
Huh.
This is a nice person. What a great conversation I had with him at Universal.
Yeah.
And he's just a sweetheart of a guy.
He is.
Yeah.
I have met people that are like nice.
Yeah.
You know, like that they're like, oh yeah. Like
Yeah, but not like this guy kicks puppies nice. Like you don't believe it. Like
no,
like,
but like they're nice.
like
They
bullshit
can
nice.
they
He's
can
like
put it
real-
on, right?
Yeah, right. This is real
Robin
nice.
is not only he's kind. Like
Oh,
You can tell.
that's a nice distinction.
there is a huge difference between a person who is just inherently kind and a person who can be nice.
yeah.
There's a very big
Right.
difference.
It's not bullshit nice because you always that's what I meant by that. Like when you have those people who are just like, oh hi, how are you? You're like you kill things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not Robin. This like you can just tell. Like you said, Sadie always says him. Always brings up the fact that she can tell energy.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like
can.
she always brings up he has kind eyes. Like she thought when she met RB3, she's like he has very kind eyes.
He does have
you can
kind
tell.
eyes,
And
yeah.
and that's a big thing. Like so when you
And she looked at you and she's like,
what happened?
He has a big dick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He has.
Listen,
know
we
what.
all have trade-offs in life.
Yeah.
You decide what's important to you. I say that the older you get, my manager said this to me at one point. He said to me, and he's about 10 years older than me. He said to me,
So he's 30. Cool.
yeah, he's about 30.
Yeah.
Cool.
He said, you will settle for 70%. And I was like, no, you don't. You don't. You do. But here's the thing. You don't settle for 70%. The older you get, you narrow down what you want.
Yes.
Totally.
And you
Yes.
realize the 70% you got is 120% more than what you wanted to begin with. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Absolutely. I love that.
You realize what's important. You
Yes.
realize that you don't need any of like that, you know.
It's different though too when you're like there's different needs. 100%. Like when you're in your late 20s, when you're in 30s, you want different things. And I've been in relationships too where you're looking at one point in youth. My objectives in life were different at the time for myself
Yeah.
that I couldn't lend to other people that I was dating or that was with.
Right.
Same thing. It's like, well, this is not what I'm looking for at the moment. To where, and you always think about this thing too. You meet certain people at times in your life that at that time in your life wasn't ready. That time, maybe down the line, sure, whatever it might be, but it doesn't. It's the time that it happens that it's supposed to happen. And for you, you had to go through what you went through. It's very similar to what we were just talking about with the jobs.
Yeah.
And then here you go.
You also, and to bring it back to the jobs, right? Like, had all of the things that are happening in my career now happened 15 years ago, I would have ruined it. And not ruined it intentionally.
Right. But
I wouldn't have realized how special it was, how rare it was, and how it probably won't happen again. So hold on to it. Don't take it for granted and appreciate every moment you have.
Right.
Because this could be it.
And 15 years ago would have been 15 years less of you climbing that ladder, so diligent, putting in the legwork. And so then, of course, then you're going to, if this happens 15 years ago, you're going to be like, oh, getting jobs is easy. This is an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Whereas you know the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into what you have done, the career that you have built.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I feel bad for people that have success young. I mean, you don't obviously because that's great, but like they don't have any understanding. Like I feel like when the real world
There are those
hits,
people. There are those people that just
knocks
get
them
it
up.
right. They get stuff right away,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be.
course.
And you got to fight. You got to push forward. That's how you build strength. That's just how it happens.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You also, it's one of those things. I just worked with a person who was so proud of the fact that his son, who's like 12,
Yeah.
was going in for meetings and walking out and going, I don't want to do that. It's beneath me. And he was so proud of his son for having,
At 12,
Is it standards?
standards.
Ooh,
send him a photo of Leif Garrett.
And I was like, this is not something I would be
Haley
telling
Joel
a bunch of
Osment.
people.
Yeah.
This is not something that I would be like, oh, wow, look how smart my son is.
Right.
You have to if you can go in and book a job and you get it, it's every job begets another job. I am still working because I took jobs that people I knew and I was friends with turned them down.
Right.
Yes.
You know, I took Halloween Resurrection after someone turned it down that I knew. They don't work anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's I don't know.
It's ego.
Of course it is.
Yeah, it's ego.
Of course it is. We're raising a society of people that are entitled.
You don't got to tell me. I mean, even people who aren't even necessarily in front of the camera, you look at people like, whether it's fans, whether it's anything too, like they're absolutely. And I think social media is a big reason why all that, because there's not this connectivity. Very similar to what I was talking to you before about how this is more of a conversation to me. Like even when we were talking via text and you were like, well, we're going to do Zoom. I'm like, I'm over Zoom. Because you can't connect through the digital the same way that we can here. And it's the same thing with social media. Someone says, think about all the horrible shit that people have said to you in social media. They wouldn't say it to your face.
Of course not.
Of course not.
Of course not.
Right.
And I say this all the time. Anyone who says that they would say something that shitty to my face, I dare you.
Yeah.
I dare you to say it to my face.
And you know what it is? It's not even a matter of like a toughness of I dare you. It's just like, see how you would feel about yourself after you would say it, because the difference is you don't see the reaction that it causes when you send that. You just go, fuck you, Bo Katan. Yeah. And it's like, then you say it to someone's face and you either see the hurt, and if you don't respond to that, you're not a good person.
No.
And if you feel like, because a lot of these people that do these tweets and everything, a lot of them don't think that they are bad people, right?
Of course not.
And there are some of them that are
It's freedom
just
of speech.
Yeah, there are some people who are just shit, right? I have been I've had conversations over the last 6 months. I've approached it very differently than I used to. I see someone who writes something and hurtful to me, and I reach out to the person. I send them a DM.
Yeah.
And I say to them, hey, I don't know what kind of day you're having. You might be having a bad day, and I'm not going to judge you on it too. I'm just curious why that particular thing you felt that needed to be said. If you're not a good person, you're not a good person, and we'll go on our way. But if you're having a bad day, you're having a bad day, and I get it. 9 out of 10 times, the person writes back and goes, I was having a shitty day. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I shouldn't. And I had a whole conversation with this guy like, I had a couple to drink that night, man. I sent something out. And I'm sorry. And I go, it's cool.
Yeah.
Because we're fucking human.
Of course.
But there are other people that are just like, yeah, fuck you, buddy. That guy's just looking for some shit.
You know, it's funny. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
When someone goes after me on Instagram now, listen, if it's a guy and they say something incredibly sexist and disgusting, I just block them. Or I don't even block them. I just restrict them.
Yeah.
Because then they think they're still being seen. I find that so hysterical for some reason. I think it's so funny for some reason. I'm like, you think people saw that?
No one saw it.
No, you're just living in your own hateful world, buddy. But I will reach out to someone if it's like a, thing that they've said. I do the same thing now.
Well, because the question is, are you, and I talked about this recently on a show. I did a show I did a solo show the other day. And I talked about, you just don't know what kind of personal demons people are going through. And so in the same way where they're not looking at the human side of just tweeting at the girl they saw on Battlestar and Mandalorian, they don't like her. They're not thinking about that. But in the same token, when you get that, most of the time you're not thinking about what that person's gone through. Did that person just experience loss? Did that person have something really tragic in their life going on? Are they just lonely?
Yeah.
Like we don't think about that stuff the same way they don't think about it. And I have tried to do that more and reach out to people. And there are just people who are dicks.
I think too that social media sort of turns us all into children. I think about like my kids, like if they really need my attention, it doesn't matter if it's negative or positive attention. If they are feeling like they need my eyes, my attention, they'll do whatever it is. They'll knock a thing off a table.
Right.
So I think sometimes people, like, it's just a cry for somebody pay attention to me, please, and I think probably the fact that you guys are engaging with these people in a kind way and actually like on a personal level and saying like, what's going on with you? Like is best case scenario.
Right.
Because that person's like, oh, I didn't have to do this. I didn't have to be nasty because this person is willing to give me attention and is willing to have a conversation with me.
Absolutely.
I just feel like everybody's just a bunch of petulant children.
Yeah, social
Everyone.
media is really...
It's tricky.
It's tricky. It breaks my heart sometimes, actually. And I think that I wish that people would think twice before they say the things that they say.
Yeah. It's also...
Because what part of you... I think it's this ego-driven thing, too, that, like, what part of you felt like you had to say this.
Yeah.
That like the world was going to be a better place because you had to say this.
Everybody has a voice.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It is. And everybody, and it's
Sir, your voice is terrible.
it's horrible. I know, exactly.
Sir.
You should
Really?
we see why you're
But
on
I need to
social
tell
media.
somebody about my bologna sandwich.
Sir, we are just...
That restaurant's not nice.
Sir, please. It's really grimy.
Really,
sorry.
it's really jarring.
I'm so sorry. I just,
really is.
I'm just nervous about my life.
The little kernel of truth that comes through.
Just at the end.
Yeah, but it is. But it's one of those things where it's and it's not just the people who are trolling. It's people who are just putting thoughts out there in general. Sometimes just like, I need to say this right now.
Well,
it's like, you don't.
It's so exactly.
don't.
That's what's so funny is I posted this thing the other day about how my new tattoo cover and like
Yes.
why I did it and the emotional journey that I went on with it,
Yeah.
why I did it, and the growth of the human being that I'm becoming, right? And everyone was supportive. Everyone was like, whether you like tattoos or not, the story is
The
like,
story is
good
great.
for
Yes.
you, girl.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, whatever. One person, why aren't you wearing a mask?
right. In the
One
middle.
person. And
Yeah.
now I know we don't want to talk about that word, but it was, and my response was,
Not that I don't want to. It's
A clay,
thing.
No,
no,
of
clay
course.
mask.
But it was,
clay. It
yeah.
was a clay mask.
But
He was
like,
wearing.
it was my response to her was, you know where I stand on these things,
right.
you know, and you know, you have a voice and you're a role model. Yeah, I'm being a role model about personal growth and
Yeah.
being a positive human being, and that's
Right.
what I'm putting out in the world. But you choose to say this, and you had to. There was something about you that had to say this right now.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
That's sad.
And it's also sometimes when people are screaming, like you said, 99% of it positive. One person, and that's usually the loudest person.
And it's usually the person you respond to.
Yes, because you're just like, because it's disruptive.
Right.
That's why it's disruptive. You're in the middle of a really, you're moving and it's like you're listening to really great music and then just static. You're like, oh, I got to fix that. How do I? Whoa,
Yeah.
it's jarring.
It's the third grade kid in the class that does
kid,
this the
yes.
whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the teacher's trying to teach a class, and all the kids are paying attention, and everybody's loving themselves, but there's just one kid that just wants to do this.
Yeah.
Because his dad is an asshole.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. And
That's what it
and you
is.
just don't know. But
And they want to, you know.
that's right.
Anyway.
Now, before we shift over, because I want to talk to you about another life, but before we do that, I want to also let everybody know, yet again, we're back with cuts, and I don't know if you guys, I know Kate loves cuts.
I love cats.
Yeah, they're great.
I love it.
What is cuts?
Oh, Katie, I'm going to tell you.
Thank you.
I'll tell you, and I'm going to tell everybody else that the sport of business means demanding excellence from your craft and your wardrobe. Your fits need to be versatile, blending timeless style and comfort so that you look as good as you feel. And for that, there's Cuts clothing. I love Cuts. I've been wearing it all over. My wife loves it. Brett has been wearing them. Man, it slims you up, boy. They're awesome. But they've taken a classic men's fashion staple, just a plain T-shirt, and they refined it, combining premium quality with a minimalistic aesthetic. You gotta get Robin some of these. I'm sure you already are, but you'll be mauling them even more. Cut shirts, polos, hoodies, and crew sweatshirts are made for the man who works hard, plays hard, and never settles for less. All in the sport of business. It's built for performance in the boardroom, the bar, the gym. Cuts clothing keeps you sharp wherever the game takes you. They took a plain tee, but they made it so much more that you look like Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. It's the bleeding edge of fabric technology, meeting the man's confidence and making him confident enough to wear it. It's Cuts clothing. In 2016, Cuts founder Steve Burrell set out to create clothes ready for every occasion in the modern man. The end result? It is what GQ magazine calls the only shirt worth wearing. And I'm loving. They have this hoodie, and it's starting to get cold very soon in LA, and I'm going to be wearing it. It is such a nice fit. It's like a black hoodie. The fabric is phenomenal. You can try that. You can try the hoodie. You can try the wrinkle-free peacock polo, a design that keeps you fitted for the office, the golf course, at home, the gym, or your next hot date. Each piece of clothing is designed with custom engineered fabric, expertly graded for the perfect fit, arming you for every challenge and opportunity. It's not just a lifestyle. It's not just clothing. It's office, leisure, apparel for the sport of business. You get 15% off your first order by going to cutsclothing.com/SENLive. Cutsclothing.com/SENLive. Get 15% on the only shirt worth wearing. Yep, it's a great it's you because I know that you were going to get some for Dickie, right?
No, they sent some.
They sent a bunch.
Oh my gosh, you're not wrong. That hoodie is like made with the.
It is so
I don't
soft.
want. Yeah, it's soft.
Like angel tears.
I was gonna say it's made with. I was gonna say something very
very
different.
inappropriate, very dark,
And I'm gonna,
very Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, transition.
I knew you two would get along. I knew it.
Yeah, this is me being on best behavior.
Yeah, this is.
Well, you have to be a little bit more now these days, huh?
I do.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Ooh,
Well, and that's the thing, when you are on a show that children watch, you have a responsibility to, live in the light a little bit more.
It also probably puts a good thing, like we were just talking about in that previous conversation, right? It's like because we're all human beings too. I've gotten to that point one day when I was going to go, oh, no, stay away, right? And that's probably because of your job. You go, it makes it a lot easier to go, I'm not messing with this.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do my thing. And I have a very nice experience with my tattoo. I'm going to tweet this out. I'm going to do this. And then you back away.
Sorry, by the way, that I clutched it earlier.
Oh, it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't
It's
hurt.
fine.
Okay.
It's
I was like,
it's slowly healing.
I was like,
We're getting there. We're getting
like,
there.
ha 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 ha, as I squeeze a pain.
I didn't even
point.
notice it.
Okay.
I didn't even notice it. So thank you.
So, yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Let's talk about Another Life.
Yeah.
So this is a show. Lots of love. Lots of. I mean, you put it all together. Producer on the show.
Yeah.
Tell me what's going on. What's the latest and greatest?
So season 2 is coming out very soon.
When do we know?
We do
Can't
know.
say.
It's soon, and we're not allowed to say.
All right.
Netflix does this thing, and that works for them. They don't do long lead press for shows. They have realized that the attention span of human beings is so short in a social media obsessed world that if you tell someone about something, 3 months before they can watch it, they have forgotten by the time it comes out.
Yeah.
So they do this thing where about 3 weeks for sure, but 4 to 5 weeks before something, they might put a teaser out, and then they start to put the billboard. The billboards go up the week of.
It's amazing.
So, or sometimes the week after it comes out.
Yeah.
Because that's when they're reminding people, because
go see,
people want to be able to watch something that they hear about right now. If you tell me about something and I can't go watch it, I don't want to watch it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you wait.
Wait.
And so very soon. And, this has been an interesting season. We started filming in February because of the thing going on in the world.
Yeah.
Did not finish and didn't go back to work till August. And then finished. And it was a very weird thing. Filming in that time was strange. It was just very strange.
Yeah.
It was very hard to emotionally connect to the things that were going on because you were just white knuckling. You were like,
right.
Lord help us, let's keep going. We just need to finish. And as a producer of a show, you feel this responsibility for people's paychecks. I was getting angry at cast that were not necessarily being as careful as they needed to be, and I was getting so angry because
Did you resonate with that whole thing that happened with Tom Cruise?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I
He
listened
did the-
to it,
yeah.
and I went, oh my God, I
was
literally said the same thing pretty
Yeah.
much to all
Right.
these people. Like,
Right.
you selfish little shits. Like,
Right.
What are you basically
Get it
doing?
together.
Like, get it together.
Yeah.
It's 3.5 months.
Right.
Suck it up.
Right.
Suck it up.
My my husband's currently on a dark week of the show he writes on because 2 weeks in a row now
Yeah.
they're
That thing
because of
that's
the
going
thing.
on in the world.
and because people can't be responsible in the cast cannot be responsible.
Yeah, it's a very strange thing to me, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. When you've ridden a wave of a career and you know how blessed you are to be working, you don't want it to go away.
Right.
You take it seriously. You take that responsibility seriously. Now, listen, I'm not going to say that that I couldn't go out tomorrow and that thing that's going around and go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I did
100%.
everything that I, whatever,
Right.
because I know that happens.
Of course.
But why the unnecessary risk?
Right.
It's not worth it.
No.
There are too many people's jobs that depend on me showing up to work.
Right.
And I can suck it up for 6 months
Totally.
to make sure that these people continue to work.
I mean,
Yeah, there's a matter of, again, maturity, selflessness, and all that too. And there's other people
just
that are
respect
not like,
for other human beings.
There are
just
people
the
who
basic.
aren't like that. I lost a lot of respect recently for Miles Teller. Right, a lot of stuff that was going on with him, what he was doing. I was a big fan.
I
of
didn't
his.
see. I'm a huge
But-
fan of this. I don't even want to look.
I heard a little bit about it, but I haven't. I pretty much avoid the news and social media these days.
Yeah.
I
Smart.
don't
keep
even.
you sane.
I don't even look.
Keep
I
you
mean,
sane.
I listen. I know what's going on in the world.
You want to get updates, but you don't want to get too much in because you can drive you nuts.
Well, I think as human beings, we're not hardwired to take on the pain of the world.
No.
Yeah.
It is it's hard. You know,
Yeah.
we have to, and I say this all the time. You have to take care of your own roof
Right.
and the people surrounding you, and then you can take care of other people.
Yeah.
And you can do it both simultaneously. Like, you know, don't be sticklers out there. I'm not saying avoid the world.
Right.
But we were not meant to take this emotional toll
Right.
on a daily basis.
No,
It
I mean,
is
look
just
at
too much.
kids, man. Look
It's
at
too
kids.
much.
It's too much. All right, before we get you out of here, you were working on the YouTube channel for a while. You still working on the channel, or it's harder because of everything going on?
It's hard,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, it's a lot going on.
It's a lot of work. I mean,
Well,
these
it's also
YouTubers.
but you've got a lot. You've got a lot going on.
Oh
It's
my-
hard to. It's because it's
Yeah.
consistency, and it's hard to do.
It is hard.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And Robin, not only that, was shooting and editing himself and
Yeah.
doing everything himself. Not to mention the fact that, you know, our house was being built, and we're writing the movie that we just did that's coming out soon. Like, and you know, working on. We've got so many things. Planning a wedding.
Yeah.
There's so many things.
I can't even.
That it just, you know, I just mind boggled that people actually have the time to do YouTube. I love it. We loved doing it. I wish that I could do it all the time. I have said this so many times. YouTube at one point was like giving money to celebrities to do a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it. I was
Right.
not fancy enough to get that money because we tried. Because
Right.
if we'd gotten the money, we could have hired a shooter, hired an
Yes.
editor,
Yeah.
and just done our episodes, which I would have loved to have done. But we don't have the expendable income to be able to hire all those people on a weekly basis to be able to shoot this show the way
Right.
that we wanted
Right.
to. And it was hard. But we had so much fun doing the episodes. We loved it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Also, you're
Yeah.
only going to be a newlywed once in your life. You have
Enjoy
to enjoy
it.
that. You know, like when you have 5 minutes, you can sit down. It's okay.
Right?
Permission.
Yeah.
I mean,
Permission
that's
to
that
just
thing, right?
Well,
to
so
just
what's-
have some downtime.
Yeah.
So right now you're waiting for Another Life
Yeah.
we're waiting for the announcement basically
Yeah.
of season 2. What else? What's going on? What else we got in the movie that you and Robin are writing?
Yeah, so I've got 2 projects coming out in October, November, which is great. So those will become very clear very soon. Another Life, I'm really proud of this season. We worked very hard, and for all the guff I give the cast, they were good. They
Yeah.
were really
Yeah.
good. You know, there are times you feel like a babysitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was hard, but the crew worked their ass off, the cast worked their ass off, and we finished it. And then in post-production, that was a hard process too. Doing post over Zoom is not easy.
No.
Yeah.
Like, you know, going to color mixes and sound mixes and doing it over Zoom, it's not easy. It's inevitably, it takes you 20 minutes to get everybody signed in,
Right.
even though you do it every week. Something goes wrong. And so I'm just really, really proud of this. You know, for us to get a 3rd season, we will have to do as well as we did season 1. And that is going to be a hard thing for us because it's been 2 years. I don't
But-
even think people
Yeah.
remember that we were on.
So I'm also, because I remember the great story you told me that I think was so smart about Netflix was that when you told them you were shooting Mandalorian, they were cool about it.
Yeah.
And to them, smart business, because the other reason now is because as you've seen your popularity grow
Right.
with Bo Katan, I'm sure the strategy for them is, hey, she's got this new fan base now that should also help out with season 2. Now that we know that for those new fans that you have found through Star
Yeah.
Wars, that they'll come on over and check out season 2.
Yeah, listen, that is our intent, being the executive producer of the show and having my own publicity team
Yeah.
that I hire for things. That is our objective.
Yeah.
Whether that's Netflix's or not, I don't know. That's,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not privy to those conversations. But that is surely our objective is to piggyback on and see if we can't get a 3rd season.
Before I let you go,
Absolutely.
last one here. I have 2 questions I want to ask you, but let me ask you the serious one first, and then I'll ask you the silly one. The serious question is,
Do you have room for a best friend in your life?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, I do.
Okay, good.
You know, one of them just moved to Georgia, so
Oh.
I am short right now.
Well, there you go.
fantastic.
Perfect. It's a cliche question that I have that you probably get in have gotten before, but I'm very curious because I've known you for a handful of years now, and I remember stories that you've told me.
We've known each other for almost 20 years.
It's crazy. So I think it was
15, 16?
I met you 2006.
Really?
Yes.
I thought it was 2004. Okay.
2006.
Check the tat. Check the tat.
Check the tat.
It was
Like,
the same
and
day.
That was,
subtract. I just did this about my period the other day. I looked down on my little app because that is,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know anyone else. I'm going to too much information, but whatever. So a cancer survivor. So, and I don't have a thyroid. So to put birth control in my body changes my my chemistry so much that I can't do that. So I am very good at tracking my shit,
Yes.
right?
You have to. Yeah.
I looked down last night because I know it's coming, and I looked down last night at my app, and it said 19 days till your next period, and I went, well, that's clearly not right, based
broken.
on what my body's doing.
Yeah.
That is not right. And I went back and I went, what happened? And I was like, oh, you shot a movie in 3 weeks, and you forgot to put in your period while you were doing it. So I'm sitting there going, when did I buy tampons? Did I buy? No, my assistant bought tampons. When did my dad visited? When did I wash out those reusable pads?
Yep.
Pads are bad for the environment. Get your reusable bamboo
Wearing
ones on
one
Amazon
now.
right now.
Wearing one now.
And this was a missing episode of the YouTube channel. By the way.
It really was. So, you know, when did that happen? Well, no, I washed one out then. Okay. All right. Okay. So I guessed. And then it said, you're going to get your period in 7 days. And I was like, that sounds more accurate.
Sounds more accurate.
Now we're talking.
All right, here's the question
Yeah.
I got to ask you. Because
When are you
like
getting
I
your
said,
period?
knowing
7 days.
knowing you for so long and knowing a lot of the stories, that Katee Sackhoff today, producer, has gone through all these different things in her life, meets Katee Sackhoff from Mr. Holland's Opus.
I would hate. Well, Katee Sackhoff from Mr. Holland's Opus was a very different human being.
That's what I
than
mean.
Katee Sackhoff from Battlestar Galactica.
Okay, but let's take that young actress kind of coming up, very similar to what you were talking about before, of like, hey, this is the way I see the world today, as opposed to how you see it today. What do you tell yourself today?
It's very different because of social media.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a kid, when I was first starting out in this industry, you got to make mistakes, and they disappeared.
Right.
And a mistake that, you know, ruined your reputation for 1 week is very different than a mistake that, you know, buries you for the foreseeable future. And so, you know, if I was to meet that Katee back then, I don't know if I could have given her any advice that she would have listened to. She would not have listened to, because she had this thing that she used to say of, you can tell me what's going to happen if I make this mistake, but I have to do it myself, or else I'm not going to learn the lesson. So she made a lot of mistakes, and she did a lot of shit.
She's not wrong, though.
She's not wrong.
Yeah.
But God knows how I'm still alive.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a chip on my shoulder. When I started in this industry, I was surrounded by men.
Yeah.
And I was a little girl.
Yeah.
And I realized very quickly that to not be intimidated and to not, for better or worse, you might think this is sad, whatever, this is just survival, to not be viewed as a sexual object, I became very masculine. Very masculine and very edgy. Yeah. I smoked. I got tattoos. I became a truck driver. I was like, this is going to protect me from not having to worry about you. Yep. You know? And so that's who I was. I was that person for a very long time. And up until, you know, Battlestar slowly started to make mistakes. But I had Richard Dreyfuss one time look at me. God love the man. I had no idea how lucky I was to be on a show working with like 5 Oscar winners every day. I was working with Peter O'Toole and Eli Wallach and Marcia Gay Harden and Richard Dreyfuss and Ann Johnson and like these fucking people that like, I mean, Marcia had just won an Oscar for Pollock.
She's unbelievable.
And I was going out every weekend and barely getting to work on Monday mornings.
Yeah.
Because I was 20 years old. I was a kid. I was stupid. And he said to me at one point, I had a call time. I will notify around 10 o'clock on a Friday night or 9 o'clock on a Friday night. 9 o'clock rolls around. I didn't hear from them. I just assumed I'm not working. So I went out. And I got a phone call about 11 o'clock that, or a page, excuse me, not a phone call, it was a page, that I needed to come to work and that my ride was coming to get me. And I went to work, and it was not pretty. And Richard pulled me aside, and he said, if you ever come to work like this again, I will ruin you. So do whatever you need to do to get through tonight and never do it again.
Wow.
And I was like, terrified.
Yeah.
That kicked your ass in the shape.
Kicked my ass.
Yeah.
Kicked my fucking ass.
Oh,
It was awful. It was.
Yeah.
It was.
I can
It
feel
was
that
terrified.
embarrassment.
Yeah.
I
Oh my
immediately
God.
called my mom,
Yeah.
and I said, I need help.
Oh.
I need help. I need you to fly to New York.
Yeah.
I need you to stay with me because I'm gonna ruin everything. And that woman, God love that woman. She was there the next morning. There was a knock on my door, and she showed up and she stayed with me for 2 weeks.
Oh, that's
it was
an
amazing.
incredible
That was it.
story.
Absolutely, never made it.
Turns it
Never
around.
took it for granted again.
So, I know you keep falling in love. Did you just fall in love again?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
How do you not?
how do you not? But you know what? I'm not alone.
No.
Everybody's like, we feel you, Kate. We
100%.
feel you.
I mean, because
we feel you.
But the beauty in that is that being able to look at, I mean, shit, there's tons of stuff in my life that I've done with regrets and things that you like, but it's like the strength of being able to, there are some people who do not go down that route and do not have the strength to call their mother and say, I need help. There are people who do not have the strength to listen to that advice as opposed to, what the fuck do you know, old man?
How
right?
dare he?
Yeah, how dare
But
he
that
tell
also,
me about
that is
me?
my mom and my dad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom never looked me in the face and treated me like a child that was making mistakes.
Yeah.
She flew to New York, and she never mentioned it again.
Yeah.
She just went,
I love that.
let's be here. Let's
Yep.
do this. Let's figure it out.
Yep.
Let's get you on the right track.
Yep.
And we'll never talk about it again.
So,
And we didn't.
this funny thing, so Kate and Katie, so when I met your mom when I was at the Comedy
Yeah,
Store.
we went to a show.
I did, and I remember I had just quit my job at Silver Pictures, and I was on the, it was the move I had to make.
Yeah.
I knew I had to make it, but I was scared. It was
That's a scary
this was
move.
a full. I mean, you remember I just gotten offered a promotion at Silver, and I turned it down as far as being an executive over there because I wanted to go back into stand up and produce my own thing. And your mom we sat down on the outside of the bar, and we had a conversation, and she said, "Do you asking me about was it the right move? Do I feel it was the right move?" And she said, "Just follow your heart, follow your instincts, and stay strong if you feel." Because she was curious, like, is it the right move? She didn't know me from a hole in the wall, so it was like, but it was you could tell it was a very kind of comforting that just hearing you talk. I was like, that's kind of the conversation that I had with her out there, of just like, do your thing, have it, believe in yourself, and it'll my dad was the same way though.
Yeah.
Can I schedule a meeting with your mom?
My mom's pretty amazing. The
good.
beautiful thing about my mother is that my mom may have, trust me, she's got opinions about what you're doing,
Yeah.
but she will not let it influence her advice.
Oh, yes.
And she will
Yes.
listen to you, and she will. And this is the thing that is amazing about my mother. Good, bad, ugly, everything. She will always respect you.
Yeah.
My mom does not judge
Right.
anyone.
Yeah.
It is the most interesting thing ever. She will, for all the mistakes that my brother and my sister and I have all made, she does not judge anyone. She's just like, it's what you need to do. You let me know if you need anything.
Love
It's
it.
absolutely amazing.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's a great way to end the show, to be honest with
really
you,
is.
because it's inspiring. It was a great conversation with you as always. I missed you.
I've missed you too. I haven't seen
you in a while.
anyone. I
been
was
a while.
stuck in Canada for 10 months.
I know. Well, now you're back. And that was my daughter, who was so upset that she wouldn't get to meet you today. I said, Katie lives pretty close, and we're
Pretty
going to
close.
do a barbecue. And I already invited.
Supposedly 3 miles.
I know. I said I already invited her and her fiance over for the barbecue, and she's like, she gonna come to the barbecue? She's like, can we have a barbecue tomorrow? and I was like, not tomorrow, but she will come to the
Well,
barbecue.
if she decides,
Yeah.
don't influence her
I
in
won't.
any way.
I
But
won't.
if she decides to be Bo Katan, I have a helmet that's not Bo Katan's helmet.
Yeah.
but it was made from. It looks pretty damn close that she should wear.
I will definitely let her know.
Don't influence her.
I won't influence her.
Because I think if you say that, she will be like, I'm being Bo Katan.
Well, I'm gonna be
Well,
Bo Katan,
I have to offer it.
Kate's like, I'll be Bo
I'm
Katan
like, I
for
was like,
Halloween.
actually, I don't know. Maybe don't tell me.
Kate will just
because
be
I'll
walking around nude with the helmet on,
Yes.
making eggs.
Oh my God. Have you seen the fan art?
No.
You guys, there's
What?
like a whole subsect of people on the internet that do like Bo Katan porn art.
Oh, look at that.
She's got the helmet on and like
Yes.
the biggest boobies in the
Oh,
world
nice.
and like
Yes.
this little skinny waist and that I would never have even if I like waist trained forever. And like a booty.
Yeah.
A booty that is not my booty. There's no part of
so
me.
far, like I feel like you're just describing yourself.
Well, that's the way I see myself. Hello, ego. But no, it's amazing. It's like I saw this and I was like, that is wildly, phenomenal art. No judgment, but holy Hannah.
Yeah.
Well, please come back again. And now, because this, as you've seen, this show that we're doing now, this is a very different show from things that we haven't done in the past because there's no restraints. It's like you just talk. We have a good time. It's very old school. Doesn't it feel like remember the old days on Schmoes Know when you came in? And then Mark wanted to be here, by the way. He's going to be back. So next time you come in, we'll just bullshit. I wanted to talk to you about, because I know you're a big TV fan, stuff that you're watching, but we'll do that next time. We'll just get into a whole bunch of shit. What are you watching right now? We want to do it because I'm
watching so much, but the thing we're watching literally right now is, we're waiting for Rick and Morty and dying.
Yes.
But we are watching Physical with Rose Byrne.
I started it. Yeah.
Amazing. Triggering for a lot of people. If you've got eating issues, it may not be the best show for you to watch. We are watching Ted Lasso, which genius. And I was really disappointed. Season 2 seemed to sort of like flounder a little bit. And I was a little concerned that it wouldn't find the sport aspect of it again. And it's writing, it's correcting. What they're doing is this season, they're making you fall in love even more with every individual character.
The season 2.
It's really great.
Okay.
And now we just watched Clickbait. We're watching Clickbait.
Right, that's the one with
Adrian Grenier.
Right, yes. My mother-in-law's been watching. Is it good?
You know what? It does what Netflix does very well, which is that you stay up till
Sets
4
it up.
o'clock in the morning and
Yes.
you're like,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah,
God,
yeah.
just one more episode.
Yeah. I can do one more. I can do one
good.
more.
Yeah.
You watching
it's good.
What We Do in the Shadows at all?
I love What We Do in the Shadows.
Told you.
I do,
believe
but
it.
my
I
favorite.
haven't.
You haven't gotten into the
No, every time I drive up Olympic, there's
Yes.
a billboard.
Yes.
And it reminds me how much I love
It's
Taika
the-
Waititi.
it's the- no,
Who
Taika,
doesn't?
I'm just telling
Who
you,
doesn't?
if the way I feel about that man, I'm just
And
gonna
Taika
Did you
and
work with him at all?
Jermaine.
Oh, wait, wait.
Jermaine
Jermaine
Clement
Clement.
and
Didn't
oh
he
my God.
direct the last one? No, Peyton Reed
No,
did.
Peyton
Reed
did.
Right. So did you work with Taika yet?
No, but
Oh,
I've met Taika because I
Talk slowly. Give me the details.
I was on set of Thor. So
Right.
yeah.
Oh my God.
So
He's like, I know it's that. Yeah,
he is
like,
is
the
such a brilliant
Yeah, he really
man.
is. He's just naturally funny
But
too.
what's interesting though is that like he just watching him work then is that he has the ability, and this is a smart thing. This is a smart leader. You keep a fun set,
yes,
but you do your work.
Totally.
yeah,
It's so smart, and
Yeah.
you don't have to rule with anything
fist.
other. No,
Yeah.
you just keep it light, keep it happy, keep it fun, but do your job, and that's what Taika does.
He
Well,
just, he is nobody has that business being that
No.
funny, that brilliant. That I mean, it's easy. Just give one of your talents to someone else, or share them all with me, Taika.
Well, we shared a lot with you guys here today, ladies and gentlemen, and Katee Sackhoff joining us. So thank you guys so much. And make sure that you comment. If you haven't done that, comment. We're trying to respond to as many as possible. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere podcasts are found. Please do that. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe. We have this show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then we have Sith Council on Fridays as well. So thank you once again, Katee. Thank you, Kate Mulligan. All right, ladies and gentlemen, see you on the flip side. Get those tickets, by the way, for me and Mark Ellis on October 8th. It is the big thing, and I appreciate it. See you on the flip side, homies.